When I lived in New York City, I lived on the Upper West Side, which is a nice neighborhood, residential neighborhood, and I wanted to have a kind of neighborhood where everybody smiled, everybody said, "Good morning." Now that might be a little bit naive. I wasn't expecting to move to Mayberry, but I thought a little more warmth in the neighborhood might be a nice thing. Why not? And so every morning on my way to the subway, I would look around looking for those people to say hello, that would wave to me or smile. And nobody was smiling. And the more nobody smiled, the angrier I got. And by the time I got to the subway, I was furious. And then I passed a building, and I saw my reflection in the building. No wonder nobody was saying good morning to me. I looked horrible. I was the angriest guy on the block. I wouldn't say good morning to me. I would have crossed the street and got on the other side. So I decided right there, that was like a wake-up call. I decided to try a little experiment. What if I started saying good morning to everybody that I saw? What if I smiled? This was a little bit outside of my comfort range, but that's the place where we have breakthroughs. That's the place where we grow, is when we get outside of our comfort range. So I decided the next morning I was going to try just that, just for 10 minutes, that 10-minute walk to the subway. Smile and say good morning to everybody. And don't worry about what the reaction was. Because after all, this was about the process of creating the neighborhood I wanted. Not about the outcome, not about that one person that might be put off by this, but it's about the process. And that's a lot about what life is about. It's not about the outcome. The only outcome of life is what? It's death, that's right. It's about the process. That's what life is, the process of living. So I woke up the next morning, I was all ready, I came out of my front door, and now again, even those best intentions, I started having that voice in my head saying, what if you get somebody upset? What if you make a fool out of yourself? All those fears that are so deep-rooted in many of us, they all showed up, but I decided to have a little courage. And I started walking towards the subway, and I started waving, and I started smiling, and I started saying good morning to every single person that I saw. And what did they do? Well, a lot of them kind of grabbed their wallet and ran to the other side of the street, just like I would have done. Some of them looked at me like I was absolutely out of my mind. But at least half of them, no matter what expression they had on their face, it just melted away and a big smile took its place. And by the time I got to the subway, I had created that very neighborhood that I wanted so badly, but that I was expecting everybody else to create for me. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Very, very oft-quoted saying by Gandhi. And that's exactly what that was. I had to create that change. I had to create that neighborhood. I couldn't expect it to just come to me. I couldn't expect everybody else to just create it for me. Because when you do that, you're giving up your own personal power. You're just saying, I'm a victim of the world. I'm a victim of my circumstances and my environment. Whatever you do, I'm going to hope for the best, but I don't have a say in that. And that is ridiculous. You absolutely are the cause of your life. So if you could take that perspective, remember, we're talking about shifting perspectives. If you could take that perspective and create what you wanted, instead of waiting for it to come, live proactively. Live towards that vision that you have for your life. If you have a vision, that's what's going to change your life. One of the people I get much of my wisdom from is my 93-year-old grandmother. And you could just see the way she appreciates every single day. She lives with urgency because every day to her is like a year. What if we lived that way? What if we treated every day like it was the most important day of our lives? What would life look like then? For example, when she comes over, she sees her great-grandkids, my kids, and when she hugs them, you could just see she's drinking in every little ounce, every smell, every feeling, like it's the last time she's ever going to get a chance to touch them. What would our lives be like if all of our interactions were that way? She still is a radiant ball of light. She is really with it. Her mind is sharp, but her ears don't work so well. Yes, hey, Graham, how are you doing? She says 4 o'clock. But inside there's a lot of radiant light, and she's a little bit vain, and she doesn't like to admit that she has a hearing aid. So there are many times when she'll take it out, she'll hold it in her hand, and she'll just nod like she knows what you're saying, and then at the end she'll say, I don't have an idea of anything that you just said to me. But that's okay. That's how she plays her game, and she's allowed, she's entitled, she's the matriarch of the family. So she's holding her hearing aids. It's at my son's birthday. And she goes up to the bathroom, and when she goes up there, we make sure she gets up the stairs and down the stairs. Okay. She doesn't like to be helped. Again, she's a very proud woman. And she comes back down, and she's sitting at the dining room table with all of us, and she realizes she doesn't have her hearing aid anymore. It was in her hand, and now it's gone. And so you could imagine what the room looked like with 15 people on their hands and knees looking through this carpeting for this little hearing aid that nobody knew what it looked like. And we realized that she had flushed it down the toilet. Maybe not the swiftest thing in the world, but hey, she's 90-something years old. You have to give her a lot of runway. And my dad was cranky. And my uncle, his brother, were cranky. They were cranky. They were not happy. They were going to let this incident affect the whole rest of the day for them. And I remember after we made this discovery, my grandmother was a little humiliated, a little embarrassed. We were sitting down together, and I looked over to her. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, there was a shift. She had let it go. She had really let it go. That was it. It was gone. And from then on, she was back to herself. Party was going to go on, and she was going to enjoy every second of that. And you look over at the other side of the table, and there's my dad and my uncle still grumbling away. And I look at her, and she looks to me, and this is when one of those nuggets came out. She says, "Michael, never cry over things that can be replaced. People, yes. Hearing aids, no." And it was that little nugget of wisdom that gave me an instant understanding to the kind of perspective with which she lived her life. Perspective, choice. She was choosing to let it go. How many times do we choose something differently, like my father was at that time? Choosing to be angry, choosing to be cranky, choosing to hold on to that. There was something wrong, focusing on the gap, focusing on what was missing, not what was there. The fact that his 90-something-year-old mother was there and was even able to make a silly mistake like that. What a shift in perspective that would have been. Anybody have kids? Anybody have children in here? Okay, yeah, number of hands. If I were to ask you if your kid woke up in the middle of the night and was screaming, crying, terrified, whatever it was, and you were snuggled very comfortably in bed, and you heard that, are you going to get up and see what's happening? Are you going to get up to comfort your child? And many of you are nodding your heads. Well, of course you are, right? Of course. But you know what? That's still a choice you're making. That is still a choice. That choice might be wrapped around 100% commitment to your child's welfare, to your own sense of parenting, but it's still a choice. Martin Luther King said, take the first step, even if you don't know where the staircase will lead. This is not about having the answers. It's about having a direction. It's about having a vision. It's about getting in action to take that first step and learning along the way. You don't have to know it all up front. In fact, too many times we sit there and we wait and we wait and we wait, and someday I'll do this, someday I'll do that. When the kids are older, when work slows down, after the end of the weekend, I call that rounding up. We round up, but when we're rounding up, we're rounding away our lives. Oh, you know, it's Monday. I said I was going to go to the gym today, but it's raining out. You know what? I'll start tomorrow. Like somehow tomorrow, miraculously, you're going to wake up and say, today's the day. And then it's Tuesday, and you know, you missed Monday. You don't really feel like it. So, oh, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm really going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. Now it's midweek. It's hump day. And so tomorrow, now it's today. It's Wednesday. And yeah, I missed so much already. I'll start next week. And now you've just rounded up the whole week. And pretty soon weeks lead into months, which leads into what? Years. Think back 5 years ago. Think back right now to the day 5 years ago, what you were hoping that your life would look like in 5 years. Does it? Does it look that way? What if you had taken small steps? Not big, overwhelming steps. This is not about taking on so much that you're overwhelmed and paralyzed. That's what we do. No, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Right? You've heard that. So what if you had taken that one step 5 years ago, just a little bit, and each week you did a little bit more, and each week you did a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and after 5 years, look at how far you would have come. Look at what would have changed. But instead we wait because we want to know how. We want the answers. We want it to be easy. But it doesn't work that way. Not usually. So what if you were able to go back 5 years ago and do things differently? What would you do differently? Well, what if you had that same opportunity to rewrite your future? So let's pretend that it's 5 years from now, and you're getting a chance to do it all over again. You're getting those 5 years back. It's a miracle. What are you going to do with them this time? How are you going to take advantage? How are you going to take advantage and appreciate every single day as the gift that it is? What if you were my 90-something-year-old grandmother? What would you do with those 5 years? Maybe not take them for granted. Maybe you really would appreciate every day. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Because you think you're going to see it coming, but you don't. We live like we have endless tomorrows. But let me tell you something. None of us in this room does.